Well, American and European officials may be staying away from Beijing's Winter Olympics because of human rights concerns, but Russian President Vladimir Putin will be on hand even as tensions soar over his buildup of troops along the country's border with Ukraine. Putin's talks with the Chinese president on Friday will mark their first in-person meeting since 2019, and they're intended to help strengthen Moscow's ties with China and coordinate their policies in the face of Western pressure. After, the two will attend the game's opening ceremony. In an article published Thursday by Xinhua News, Putin wrote that Moscow and Beijing play, quote, an important stabilizing role in global affairs and help international affairs become, quote, more equitable and inclusive. The Russian president criticized, and this is a quote, the attempts by some other countries to politicize sports to benefit their ambitions, close quote, an apparent reference to the diplomatic boycott of the Olympics by the United States and some of its allies. Many Western officials are skipping the Beijing Games in protest of China's detention of more than 1 million Uyghur Muslims in the northwestern region of Xinjiang. But leaders of the ex-Soviet Central Asian nations, which also have close ties with both Russia and China, all followed Putin's lead and attending. In an interview with China, the media group also released Thursday, Putin emphasized, quote, we oppose the attempts to politicize sports or use it as a tool of coercion, unfair competition, and discrimination, close quote. Putin's meeting with Xi, and the attendance at the opening ceremony, quote, announces the further promotion of China and Russia's relationship. This comes from the director of the Institute of European and Asian Studies at Shanghai's University of Political Science and Law. China and Russia have increasingly found common cause over what they believe is a U.S. disregard for their territorial and security concerns, Lee said. Both of their governments have also taken to mocking the United States over its domestic travels or travails, from last year's Capitol riot to the struggle with COVID-19. While, quote, the United States and Western countries on the one hand are exerting pressure against Russia over the issue of the Ukraine, and on the other hand they're exerting pressure against China over their issue with Taiwan, Lee said, referring to the self-governing island democracy and the U.S. ally that China claims as its own territory. Such acts of extreme pressure by the West will only force China and Russia to further their cooperation, closed quote. For Headlines with a Voice, this has been the Lockhart News Brief.